Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education meeting for November 2nd, 2020 at 6:31. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A couple things, just the microphones again, you guys, if you're not talking, the switch is on the mic itself, unless you have a wireless box and it's on top for on and off. So if not speaking, just to remain in the off position. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Good to see everybody again. It's been a long time. Our second in-person meeting since the great shutdown back in March. So it's good to see everybody again. And we'll begin the meeting with additions and deletions. I do need to have a motion to amend the agenda for this evening. Moved by Ms. Cardamone. Support by Ms. Pyden. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying yeah or nay.
Aye.
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 Do I have any nays? Okay, note Ms. Demixek is nay. Any other nays by the board? Okay, so motion carries. Can we have a motion to delay the start of in-person instruction for secondary students? Can I have a motion? It'll be G5, yes. We'll read it. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Aquino, supported by Ms. Cardamone. The recommended motion that Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve delaying the scheduled return of secondary students to the classroom beyond the November 9th target date. The scheduled return to in-person instruction on November 9th is not recommended at this time due to the increased spread of COVID-19. Our community conditions related to COVID-19 will be continuously assessed with the goal of returning secondary students to the classroom. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That's just to add it to the agenda.
Yeah. This is just added to the agenda, G5.
Yeah. You didn't have to read the whole thing.
So all those in favor said aye. Any nays?
Aye.
Nays? Ms. Aquino?
No, I said aye.
Aye. Ms. Demixek, any other nays? Okay. All right. It will be added to the agenda this evening. G5, motion to delay start of in-person instruction for secondary students. Thank you. Okay. Recognition presentations. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Bednard. I would like to this evening, under presentations, address both the Board of Education and our community who might be viewing this meeting. I'd like to begin by thanking the community and the Board of Education for their commitment to this district. It's been a very different year, and everyone's patience has been appreciated. Every decision made this year has been excruciatingly difficult. It may or may not surprise people, but the seemingly most insignificant decision may take hours of discussion to make. Like everyone, I am sick of Zoom. COVID has profoundly complicated our lives, including how we educate our children. Our goal has always been to have our students in school receiving face-to-face instruction. We brought our elementary schools back on October 12th. Since then, I have visited many schools as their days begin. I do this to be able to talk to students and parents. I've learned that they are glad to be back. Our kids are happy. I've learned our parents are happy. As an educator, that gives me great satisfaction. The board voted on October 19th to return our secondary students. Since then, COVID has been relentless in our state, in our county, and in our communities. As an example, on October 9th, The rolling 7-day average of COVID cases was 128 per million. This past Saturday or Friday, it was 267 per million. The number of positive COVID cases in our community in Macomb County more than doubled in 2 weeks. There are many other points of data that I could share, and none are good. Today, Southeast Michigan, the greater Detroit area, was moved to level D in the My Start plan. We can only be lower if we are moved to level E. This move to D is all based on data related to COVID. The data we receive is not just about Macomb County in general. It is also about the townships we serve, both Clinton and Macomb. COVID is an invisible threat that can not only sicken people, but seriously impact our ability to operate our schools. The last thing we want to do is to open our schools and then soon after retreat to remote. That would be too disruptive. For these reasons, I will ask the Board of Education to entertain a motion this evening to delay the start of in-person instruction for our secondary students. This delay will give us the additional time needed to reassess the situation and to wait for an improvement in the data related to COVID. Our goal remains to return our students to the classroom as soon as possible. I promise to update you along the way. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Is there any further presentations this evening?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item D, general consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the general consent agenda? Moved by Ms. Pyden,
Support.
supported by Ms. Aquino. Anything on the general consent agenda that a board member would like removed or make comment on? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody, any nays out there? Okay, 7-0. Motion passes. Ms. Cardamone, I believe we have a few retirements this evening.
Our first retiree is Keith Bullard. The resolution reads, whereas Keith Bullard has served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 26 years as an electrician. Whereas Keith Bullard, through his leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Keith Bullard, a conscientious, loyal, hardworking employee, has elected to retire. And whereas Keith Bullard will be missed by all his school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the Superintendent of Schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the 2nd day of November 2020, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district and a copy sent to Keith Bullard as an expression of our appreciation. Congratulations, Mr. Bullard. And is Mr. Howard going to speak on his behalf? Do we know? Mr. Roberts?
Are we going to give comments? We have any administrators here, or were you guys to comment on some of these player comments?
I think that they may be in attendance and they're going to be on the speaker in a minute. So we'll start with Mr. Howard then. If you'd like to say some words about Keith.
Yes, thank you, Ron. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce and recognize one of our main Bullard, our district electrician. Keith has decided to retire and move on to pursue other things after many years of service in the operations department. He joined us many years ago as a journeyman electrician. During his time here, he worked on securing his master's license which has held for the district, allowing us to expand services we provide. Keith has made it a mission the last few years to change every light fixture he touched into an LED fixture, saving us energy as well as lowering maintenance costs. If you walk up to one of our buildings and see a new bright LED light, allowing us to expand services we provide. He has made it a mission the last few years to change every light fixture he touched into an LED fixture, saving us energy as well as lowering maintenance.
He needs to mute his device.
Mr. Bullard.
I think we had a little feedback issues there.
Yeah, we did.
So I'm going to try to interpret that in fewer words. Keith is an electrician for our school district, and he has been an invaluable employee. Keith is well known throughout the school district. He's wonderful to work with. He is well respected by everyone, administration, teachers, his fellow workers. And I will add that with Keith, I have extra knowledge because as principal at Miami many years ago, his mother was a custodian at Miami. And I understand, after knowing her, why Keith is the wonderful person he is. So I want to thank Keith for his 26 years of service to our district. And when I say that he will be missed, that is an underestimation of his value to our district. So thank you, Keith.
Yeah, I thought he was.
Hello, Mr. Ballard.
I think there's an issue on the phone. I'd gotten a message that if people are calling in, they cannot hear this meeting. So, okay. Got it. Okay, thank you. I've gotten a message that if people are calling in, they cannot hear.
I want to say this again. I know there's a time delay, but I want to thank Ron Roberts for the kind words and Ken Howard. And I enjoyed all 18 years of everyone I worked with. Quite a nice staff, and it's been a pleasure. I think I have to mute myself again. I'm not sure, but thanks again.
Good luck.
Yes, congratulations and wish you the best of luck.
For the kind words and Ken Howard. And I enjoyed all 18 years of everyone I worked with. Quite a nice staff. It's been a pleasure. I think I have to mute myself again. I'm not sure. But thanks again.
Okay. Ms. Cardamone, we have another honored retiree here.
Our next retiree is Jane Grusa. The resolution reads, whereas Jane Grusa has served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 22 years as the Special Services Secretary. Whereas Jane Grusa, through her leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Jane Grusa, a conscientious, loyal, hardworking employee, has elected to retire. And whereas Jane Grusa will be missed by all her school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the Superintendent of Schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the second day of November 2020, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district, and a copy sent to Jane Grusa as an expression of our appreciation. Congratulations, Jane.
Okay.
Ms. Cook?
Good evening, Superintendent Roberts and School Board. As Ms. Cardamone said, Jane Grusa has been with Chippewa Valley Schools for 22 years. And it's quite remarkable. She has been all 22 years in the Special Services Department. And as we've joked before, she's seen people come and go, but she is always there to welcome everyone into the department. Jane is the epitome of what you want in an employee. She's loyal, she's dedicated, she's a hard worker. Anything you ask of her, she'll readily do. If any of you have ever spoken to her, whether you've come down to our office or you've spoken to her on the phone, you will, once you get on the phone with her, it's as if you're her friend. She oftentimes will speak to whether it's a new hire, an angry parent, a staff member. She just calms them down. She listens and she does everything she can to help them, or if it's welcome them, whatever it may be. She is always there and always there to do it with a smile. Again, if you know Jane, Jane is the most caring person who always takes an interest in others before herself. However, you can always talk to her about her kids, her grandchildren, or the Tigers. She will she would welcome any conversation of any of those topics. And I know her and Sam are very much looking forward to retirement. It's a big loss to us and our department. And while we're sad to see her go, we're so happy that she can move on and have, I'm sure, many travels once COVID's over to all the favorite places that she likes to go and just spend time with her family, her grandparents, or like I said, her grandchildren and her children are the world to her. And it's like we're losing a member of our family. Like I said, I'm sad to see her go, but I'm very happy for her, and everyone in our department feels the same way. So Jane, we're gonna miss you, but we love you and we support you.
Thank you. Do we have Mr. Grusa here with us?
Why is she?
Are you trying to say grossy? Are you trying to say grossly? Are you trying to say grossly?
Waiting for a call.
I see me.
We have one.
Is Mr. Grusa have a comment or? Okay, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, Ms. Cardamone, let's move on to our next. Sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Bednar. Just
Yeah.
before we move to our next retiree, Dr. Blanchard was the director of special services for a number of years, and he knows Jane Agrusa quite well. So he wanted to say a few words also this evening.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
Dr. Blanchard.
Good evening, Superintendent Roberts and Board of Education. I had the pleasure of working with Jane for 8 years in special services from 2008 to 2016. And I hope she's listening to this. I really, when I started in the district in 2008, really didn't know anybody. And it was a different world coming from a different school system, kind of new to Chippewa Valley. And Jane was one of the first faces to meet me. And over those 8 years working with Jane, really for me, where I was in my life is just as far as a young father. My youngest daughter was born while I was down in the department. And Jane was just one of those people that just kind of was like a second mother to me. Really took me under her wing, looked out for me, would joke and make sure that I ate my lunch, but really was a special person, very kind. Her and Sam, they're wonderful people. They were community members. They recently moved out of our community, but the wonderful support to our school district. And really going to miss Jane. Miss Sam terribly, but going to miss Jane. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, and wish her well in retirement. I know they're going to enjoy traveling. Sam and Jane have a classic car, and so they're looking forward to doing some car shows and enjoying time with their grandchildren. But I wish Jane and Sam the best in their retirement. They deserve it. They've earned it, and hopefully they aren't strangers and they'll pop around when they're in the area.
Get him.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, Ms. Cardamone.
All right, next retiree is Paul Eichberger. The resolution reads, whereas Paul Eichberger has served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 7 years as a bus driver. Whereas Paul Eichberger, through his leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Paul Eichberger, a conscientious, loyal, hardworking employee, has elected to retire. And whereas Paul Eichberger will be missed by all his school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the superintendent of schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the 2nd day of November 2020, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district, and a copy sent to Paul Eichberger is an expression of our appreciation. Congratulations, Mr. Eichberger. And I think Mr. Korth is going to speak on his behalf.
Yes, good evening, Board. I'm here. Paul Eichberger has been a dedicated professional school bus driver for our Chippewa Valley District for the past 7 years. Paul has driven both general education and special needs routes and has performed his job with excellence every day. There are several jobs within our daily lives that we simply require to be done with zero mistakes because people's lives are in their hands. We think of doctors, dentists, astronauts, and also school bus drivers. Our entire district team of 70 professional drivers are true professionals, always safety conscious as they transport our district's 10,423 students during face-to-face learning. Among that group, there are several drivers who just stand out as they exemplify excellence in service and leadership, and Paul Eichberger is one of those individuals. Paul has been a leader among drivers in the room, as well as a caring individual who always takes time to say, "Good morning," and ask how he can help during some of the extremely hectic and logistically challenging days in transportation. Paul has been a friend to me and someone that I can wholeheartedly say has greatly influenced and helped me over the years. I think in our American lexicon, the word valiant isn't used much anymore. And of course, we know that valiant means noble, but it's also defined as showing courageous determination. And that is what I want you to understand about Paul. While every person has a story, if you will, we don't totally understand why people are the way they are in our limited assessments of people. And I sometimes get it wrong. We judge them wrongly. But because Paul is valiant, he has faced personal loss and adversity that no person should ever have to face. But in the midst of it all, Paul still reports to work, still performs his job with excellence. Paul still manages a smile on some of his toughest days. And as always, Paul cares about his fellow man. Paul defines the word valiant. Paul Eichberger will be greatly missed by our entire team of drivers and missed by me. Thank you, Paul, for always listening, the timely, inspired advice you would give to me, and thank you for that afternoon coffee. Because you see, Paul always was prepared as a team player. When the coffee pot was empty in the office, Paul always had an extra Keurig in his pocket to save the day. Now that's a team player. Good job, my friend, and Godspeed to you and your good wife, Annette. Thank you.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Can the board also hear? Tom?
Go ahead, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. I won't take much of your time, everybody. I want to thank Tom for those very kind words. And Mr. Roberts, distinguished members of the school board of Chippewa Valley Schools. I would like to thank CVS for the opportunity to work in the transportation department for the last 7 years. First for Brendan Wagner and now for Tom Korth. For the last 6 years, I've been blessed to drive special needs students every day. It was very rewarding and educational for me to see children eager to attend school each morning and then in the afternoon display the same enthusiasm on their return home, as if they were really somebody and people cared for them at school. Well, they did at CVS. And I want to thank you for the opportunity again to be a part of that team. I will treasure this short tenure at Chippewa Valley Schools for the rest of my life. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, congratulations. Ms. Cardamone, we have one more retirement this evening.
As final retirement is Cheryl Smelnicki. The resolution reads, where Cheryl Smelnicki has served the Chippewa Valley School District faithfully and diligently for a period of 22 years as a parapro. Whereas Cheryl Smelnicki, through her leadership, has had a positive impact on the staff, students, and the community. Whereas Cheryl Smelnicki, a conscientious, loyal, hardworking employee has elected to retire, and whereas Cheryl Smelnicki will be missed by all her school colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District, not only on their behalf, but also that of the superintendent of schools and the administration, extend their thanks and appreciation for a job well done, as well as best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that this resolution, having been adopted by the Board of Education of the Chippewa Valley School District on the second day of November 2020, be made a permanent part of the records of the school district, and a copy sent to Cheryl Smelnicki as an expression of our appreciation. Congratulations to her.
Yes, congratulations and best of wishes and a great retirement. Thanks for all your service to our district, our retirees this evening. Okay, before we move on to the next item from the community, we're going to take a short recess, and we just got a little bit of technical difficulty we're going to work through here, our first meeting virtually, and we'll come back in about, let's try 5 minutes, it's 7:07.
Yeah, we think so. No, it was us. We think we know what the problem was.
Going to move into the next section of the meeting from the community, section E. We have a number of community members that were wishing to address the board this evening virtually. Before we do, I just want to read a couple of the rules as we always do before the community comment. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to the staff or other participants. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Complaints against identifiable school personnel may not be expressed in an open meeting. Such complaints should first be submitted in writing to the board and aired in open or closed session according to the wish of the persons involved. As president, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. I request any individual to leave the meeting, may request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Call for a recess or an adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. And waive these rules with the approval of the board when necessary for the protection of privacy or the administration of the board's business. So we've had this going for many, many board meetings now, and we've had some great comments by all parts of our community, and they've been always very respectful and appropriate and well taken by the board. So we appreciate that all the way through, and we hope that continues this evening. Remember, these are just comments to the board. It's not a question or answer period. It's just something you'd like to express to the board. Okay, and with that, Ms. Monier-White, I think you have the queue up there. And if you'd introduce our first community member who wants to speak to the board.
I do. Our first community member is Vanessa Mansour.
Okay.
And if you'd like to go ahead and use *6 to unmute, the board will hear your comments. And just a reminder, community, if you have the live stream going in the background, please mute that so we don't get a double feedback there.
Yes, and again, on that 5-minute time limit, I will interrupt you and give you a 1-minute warning so you can wrap things up. Okay, do we have Ms. Mansour? Are you with us, Ms. Mansour?
I am.
Awesome.
Good evening.
Excellent.
Good evening, board. I just first want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to start by introducing myself. I am a special education teacher in a neighboring county, and I am in my 18th year of teaching. So for me, this is both professional and personal. I also have 2 children who attend the district, one at the 9th grade center, at Chippewa's 9th grade center, and one at Wyandotte. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to address the board tonight with really 3 big ideas. And the first one, really, I could not start today without focusing on gratitude. I have been so honored to tell my professional colleagues, my friends and my family, that my children attend Chippewa Valley schools. I have, like many families in this community, have been so blessed to know that my children are cared for, they are challenged, and they excel. And that is because of the hard work that your staff and administration have put in. I recognize that no one, and I mean no one, thought that our world would be facing the most significant health crisis and the largest civil rights movement since the 1960s in the year 2020. But here we are. And your staff and the leaders in your district have risen to this occasion. They have shifted, they have captured, and they have excelled. And for that, I am a proud member of this community. So I start with gratitude. The next, which I was glad to hear was brought before the board, is just that concern for safety. As our numbers continue to rise, I recognize that what the truth is for my family may not be the truth for other families. So the concerns that I have may not be shared with other members of the community. And I understand. But for my family and for many families, the concern for return to in-person learning is real. We are very grateful for the hours upon hours of planning and work that has been put into mitigation strategies. Because what we know is that COVID will come through the doors of our buildings. Our children will be faced with COVID, but have there been enough mitigation strategies to ensure that there will be no community spread within the building? Our hope is yes, but we recognize that we can put wonderful plans in place, but there are things that we cannot control. So I ask that you take a moment to think about the decisions that will be made tonight and moving forward. Can we say with confidence that we have done everything we can? That is up to you. I recognize that this is difficult, and I also recognize that this is not what you as a board signed up for. Never did you think when you decided to run for school board that the decisions that you would make would fall outside the realm of curriculum, possibly disciplinary, budgetary, but never did you think the decisions that you would be making could be life or death. I recognize and am humbled that the work you continue to do impacts every one of our students, our children, and our family. The last piece I wanted to address to the board are just some lingering questions, and I think they're critical to ask.
But you know, he had a 1-minute warning. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
Oh, no, perfect. Thank you so much. Just two lingering questions, and I'm hoping that the board asks for answers. The one question is, how do we support our students who maybe are quarantined due to outside exposure? As a teacher myself, it's likely that I will be quarantined and my children quarantined with me. How will we ensure that when our children are quarantined, they will receive equitable instruction? And the other one is around how do we address the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting with missing assignments? As an educator, hearing that there is 5 times the failure rate, or potentially 5 times the failure rate for middle school students, I was heartbroken. And it left me wondering why and how, and what pieces or programs will we put into place? Because when our students return in person, whenever that may be, on a hybrid model, they'll still be required to do independent work. We must address that weakness. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight, and I appreciate the work that the district, the board, and truly the families in this community continue to do. Because remember, what I say today is the truth for my family and may be different for many families, but we are all a community, and we are all just trying to do what's best for our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Mansour, for your comments this evening. All right, Ms. Monia White, we have next up.
Our next community member is Kristen Yurkovich. If you could
Okay.
use *6 and
Ms.
unmute.
Yurkovich? Hello, Ms. Yurkovich.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead,
Great.
please. Share your comments with the board.
Great. Thank you to everyone for allowing me to speak tonight. I appreciate all of your time and hard work, and understand that there is no easy answer to what we're dealing with as a society and in the world right now. I thank you to start the meeting already for bringing emotion, as you all see the struggle that we're going through that brought about to reconsider going back with a secondary to a hybrid model starting next week. With that being said, I'd like to address my concerns as a graduate and former Big Red, and now as a parent of a senior and freshman who attends CVHS in the 9th grade center. As Mr. Roberts stated earlier in tonight's meeting, the numbers in our local community are on the rise. In fact, if you follow the Macomb County COVID's dashboard, within the month of October, we had almost as many deaths as we did in March when the pandemic started. In the month of October, our county had a 7.8% positive rate for the month. Clinton Township has seen a total of 448 cases in the month of October, which was more than all of the months except for April this year. And Macomb Township reached 523 cases, which is more than any other month from this entire year since the pandemic started. As Mr. Roberts also stated earlier, Macomb is now at the 2nd highest risk level ranking in the state at a level D. If I recall back to the August board meeting, I remember Mr. Roberts stating he did not feel safe sending our children or staff back to face unless our number was well under 5%. We are far from that number. A level D risk is not something that is safe for face-to-face schooling. The staff at Chippewa even admitted at the last board meeting that right now they cannot keep desks 6 feet apart from each other, that they did not yet have a cleaning solution that would work in the 6-minute time frame for passing time between classes versus 10 minutes, and that the district still had large staff shortages. On top of this, is Chippewa ready to have on hand enough sanitizer, soap, Kleenex, considering that every year that when we went to school from the time my kids were in kindergarten in Ottawa through last year, we have always been asked for donations in order to meet those needs and demands. Today, I know that many kids in Utica schools went back, including some in the junior highs. A close friend of mine is a parent who has a 9th grader there, and today captured pictures before school with kids not social distance after the buses dropped them off and parents dropped them off, children gathering outside, waiting to enter the buildings, most without masks on. While in school, the student advised her parents that there are close to 20 kids in classes, kids taking their masks down, social distancing not being enforced, and the rules not being followed. Can we promise that this will not happen at Chippewa? While I understand that it may be working for the younger children in the elementary schools, they may be more apt to follow directions. You're speaking right now of secondary kids, high schoolers and middle schoolers. While we all know they should follow the rules, each and every one of us knows that there are many that don't and won't. And this puts all of our students, teachers, faculty at risk for catching the virus and bringing it home. What will happen when the buses let the students off all at once and the large amount of students proceed into the building? Even at a reduced capacity, the volume of students is huge and much larger than our elementary schools. Look around the community. There are many districts not returning due to the numbers that are in our county right now. A huge concern that I also have is the lack of teacher interaction our students will be missing. Currently, even though virtual, they have 6 hours a day with 5 days a week of teacher instructions. You want the students to go down to 2 or 3 days a week only. You're reducing their interaction with teachers and cutting down their instructional time. They'll go from 30 hours a week of teacher instruction to 12 hours only in 1 week and 18 hours the next. These secondary students need that teacher interaction. The students will be left alone 2 to 3 days a week to figure it out on their own. They'll not have a teacher to go
Ms.
to.
Yurkovic. I'm sorry I had to interrupt you. Just want to give you that 1-minute warning. So please continue.
Great, thank you. If you think students are missing assignments when we saw the teachers 5 days a week, even though virtually, you're going to see an increase. I can almost guarantee it when they go down to only 2 to 3 days a week. Also, when you think of choir and band, these students at least can sing or play their instruments right now. If I recall from the last meeting, if the students are back in the building, they won't be singing or playing their instruments, which therefore takes away the arts from them also. Right now, there's a system that's working. They found their groove. They're building relationships with their teachers, even if virtual, and we don't want to have them bounce back and forth from face-to-face to virtual. Let's keep these kids going with what they have. When you asked the parents to decide back in August what route they wanted to take, the numbers were much better. Right now, they are not. So I sincerely hope the board tonight rethinks their decision and votes to delay sending the secondary students back for hybrid learning. In closing, I want to thank the teachers, tech department, board, and principals for being there for our students, and they're all doing an amazing job. I have nothing but praise for them and all of their hard work that they're putting in. Thank you very much for your time.
Your comments this evening. Okay. Ms. Montyer-White, we have our next committee member.
Our next speaker will be Darcy Coran. If you'd like to go ahead and unmute.
Ms. Coran?
Hi,
Hello?
sorry.
Hi, we hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board this evening.
Good evening. My name is Darcy Moran, and I'm a senior from Dakota High School. I would first like to make a point that as cases are rapidly rising within the Macomb area, I believe that you should wait until after the holiday and flu season before sending students back to school. When students within our district pass, they are honored through announcements, moments of silence, social media posts, rock paintings, and more. Back in April, I had the opportunity to Zoom with Governor Whitmer, where she spoke about a 5-year-old girl named Skylar Herbert who had passed days before we spoke from COVID-19. If a 5-year-old can pass from the virus, so can students within our district. If a child within our district dies from COVID-19, how will you honor them? Will you send their families flowers? Will they get their own page in the yearbook? Or will you show a presentation at graduation titled Students Who Did Not Live to See Their Graduation Day? Know that if a student within our district dies from COVID-19 after contracting it within one of the school buildings, their life was ended due to their school board's careless decision. A common argument that I hear is only a small amount of children and teenagers die from it. Although it is a small amount, it is still someone who is dying. Does their life not matter to you? It is only a small number until your daughter dies from it. It is only a small number until your son dies from it. It is only a small number until it's your mother, grandparent, father, spouse, aunt, or whoever. It is only a small number until it affects you personally. It is only a small number until you have to say goodbye to your loved one through a FaceTime call as they die alone in a hospital room. As children, teenagers, and young adults, we should not fear for our lives while returning back to school. School is supposed to be a safe environment. If there is a risk that students and staff can get sick and die, it is not a safe environment. If the school board has to meet virtually up until this point due to precautions, how is it safe to send hundreds of students back into one building? On top of students getting sick, they have a higher chance of giving it to their household and spreading it throughout their community. Once again, as cases are rising and Macomb is currently a large hotspot, it is not a safe time to have us return. Save lives and keep us home. Our lives are in your hands, and we are counting on you. That is all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moran, for your comments this evening. Ms. Monier White, our next community member.
Nicolina Pasalacua is next. If you'd like to go and unmute.
Hello.
Hello, Ms.
I'd like to. Yeah.
Hi, please share your comments with the board.
Okay. I'd like to thank you for listening to my concerns and allowing me to speak this evening. First, I'd really like to thank my children's teachers for doing a wonderful job, no matter how they're teaching our kids. I have 3 small children. 2 are in elementary school, and I have a toddler at home. We've attended Chippewa Valley for 4 years, and I attended Chippewa Valley as well, so I have a lot of faith in the district. In addition, I'm a teacher at another district, but tonight I'd like to speak for elementary students. I am very saddened that at the beginning of a second wave of a known to be deadly disease that is very highly contagious, the board voted to bring back our elementary school children. I feel that this decision was made without any real basis or scientific reasoning. Also, as many have already stated, cases are rising at an alarming rate at this time, and we all know it. So keeping our kids in elementary school, even in hybrid, is not responsible. I'm sorry here. It was said that schools would only open if and when it was safe. And that was supposed to be 2 weeks of declining or at least plateauing rate of infection. And we have the opposite at this time with cases that are record highs. I can go through a lot of details, but I think Mr. Roberts already did that. Regardless of more testing being done, which is an argument some use, as well as small children don't get it as bad, we don't really know that for a fact. We don't know who will get it badly, or who these children can spread it to. And we know for a fact that this astronomical number of cases are right in our community, and it can spread to all of our children, staff, and others. We are going into the darkest time of the pandemic yet, so let's please bring our children home. Let's not wait for a tragedy to happen. There must be protection and prevention happening for our children. They are counting on us. We do not want anyone to get sick, hospitalized, or have after effects of the disease. I chose to trust the district of professional adults to uphold the importance of the health and safety of my small children, along with the thousands of other precious children attending the schools. It is the primary responsibility of a district to ensure the safety and education of the students, not just appease a certain group of parents in the community that want their children in school. It was made clear in the summer and earlier that the district would only open if and when it was safe for staff. And this is definitely not the time during this terrible high rise of the pandemic. The board voted to bring our elementary babies back after only 3 weeks of virtual instruction, which was going very well, by the way. Teachers were present all 5 days a week, all day long. My children formed relationships with the teachers and students as well through the virtual platforms. They were allowed to work in groups, see kids, and interact socially, even though it was virtual. The rate of this pandemic infecting people should not have allowed for any return in person just yet. However, here we are. I, along with many others, share the same opinion and cannot believe that during a spike in cases, a return to school and not even a mention of keeping our kids home is even considered. Within a week and a half, we got word of 2 cases in our elementary school.
I'm sorry, Ms. Cool. I just wanted to give you that one minute warning. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
A class already had to quarantine. They had to quarantine for Halloween. Okay, what if our children have to quarantine for Thanksgiving or Christmas or any other holiday? I don't think that's doing any justice to our children or their families. In addition, the quarantine did not just affect the class of all those students that were quarantined. It affected the teacher and also the teacher of specials. So anyone with that certain special, like my children, had rotating subs because they could not find a sub to stay. So they had a different individual coming in, and for a couple of days, they didn't even have that special. So it also affected a lot of other children in the school. This inconsistency and back and forth and different teachers coming in and out is not good for our students. It is not good for our children. As parents and administrators, decisions should be made to protect our children and not just benefit schedules of adults. In addition, virtual learning is being done at all levels, even at universities, professional planning, teaching, and a lot of other things, as well as a lot of jobs and employment are being done virtually. Even social events are being held virtually. It's just the world that we have to live in during these hard times. So please, I just would like you to consider to please bring our elementary children home for the time being during this high rise of this terrible pandemic. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, Ms. Monia White, our next community member.
Jenna Bruce is our next community member, if you'd like to unmute.
Well, if they're not there, then she's good. If they're not there, she'll come back. Okay, Ms. Bruce, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, please share your comments with the board this evening.
Good evening, Superintendent Ron Roberts and CBS Board of Education. Thank you for giving me the time to share my concerns. I had the absolute pleasure of attending Chippewa Valley Schools from kindergarten until I graduated high school in 2018. I've decided to come before you out of concern for CVS's students, staff, and their families. I strongly support delaying the return of face-to-face learning for secondary education. As Superintendent Ron Roberts has already mentioned, COVID cases are dramatically spiking. Now is the time more than ever to keep students home. Reopening jeopardizes the health and safety of Chippewa Valley Schools staff, students, and their families. Every single high school student I have spoken with opposes the reopening of schools right now. They're scared, and their fear is within good reason. I often hear the argument that virtual learning is bad for students' mental health. I believe that students' mental health will suffer more with the return to in-person learning. Imagine the impact on mental health when a student brings coronavirus home to their loved ones and leave them gravely ill or end up killing them. That grief and trauma will be with them for years. When I was in attendance at Dakota High School, I recall there never being enough room to sit at lunch to begin with. Even with half the student body present, there is no way to maintain social distancing within the atrium. This will be reflected in every other aspect of the schools: hallways, bathrooms, restrooms, etc.
We have seen in other schools that students are not abiding to measures put in place to delay the spread of COVID-19. We are putting our students, their families, and our staff in danger by reopening the school. I would also like to add to the value of a virtual education. When I attended Dakota High School, I completed majority of my high school career virtually. I did some in-person learning, but most of it was online. I believe I received a very valuable education, and I did not suffer because I was doing school online. It is at this point a matter of safety and not a matter of preference. I often feel like there are parents that are simply tired of their students being at home, and I've seen this expressed on social media in many different ways. I beg of you to please consider our staff, students, and family safety in this decision. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Bruce, for your comments this evening. Okay, Ms. Monia White, our next community member.
Brianne Zilke-Stano will be our next community member to speak.
Okay. Hello, Ms. Zilke-Stano, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, we hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board this evening.
Thank you. I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk tonight. I actually have 3 kids in our district. I have 2 in elementary and then 1 high schooler. And they are third generation Chippewa students. So we're super proud to be in this district. My high schooler, she was very adamant that I spoke up tonight for her and her friends and her teachers. So that's why I decided to come on here. I'm very concerned about the high schoolers going back in person because of the COVID cases being on the rise. It's not safe. And I don't need to go into the numbers because Mr. Roberts already did, thank you. And I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call who are wondering why I just didn't sign up for virtual for my kids. But at the time when we were signing up for all of this, we were told that the kids wouldn't go back until it was safe. And clearly it's not safe. My daughter's a senior and I would love for her to go back, you know, and have the amazing experiences that I had. I also walked the halls of Chippewa Valley and I know how busy the halls are. And I know that if she was back there, even at half capacity, Chippewa and Dakota would be jam-packed. I'm also very concerned about the cleanliness because I don't know how many kids would actually clean their desks themselves or even care to clean them before they left their own class. So I know something would need to change with that too. And I think when it is safe to go back, there needs to be a little bit better of a game plan. I know everybody's trying their best, but there's got to be something better. And I just wanted to also tell you guys, I know that there's negative comments on social media and angry parents, and I know you guys are feeling the pressure to make the decision one way or another. But there are a ton of us parents who appreciate you and know what you're going through and appreciate the teachers, or we don't know what you're going through. And we appreciate our teachers and how hard everybody's working. And everybody's honestly doing their best. And I just wanted to say thank you. But thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Ms. Zilke-Stano, for your comments this evening. We really appreciate that. Okay, Ms. Monia White, our next community member.
Our next community member is Pam William.
Okay. Hello, Ms. Williams.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Ms. Williams. We hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Superintendent and board members. Thank you for this opportunity. This year has brought on many real and tangible losses, from coping with the loss of routine and canceled events to feelings of isolation and the sense of safety. While the loss of normalcy is so upsetting, this virus is still very present among us. People are still dying from COVID-19, and while we hoped for the best, the number of confirmed cases are increasing across the nation, state, and our county. This past Saturday, the state reported Michigan's highest single-day total, and the state's risk level for another outbreak increased from high risk to experiencing an active outbreak. If that is not enough data, let's go closer to home, where coronavirus cases continue to grow rapidly as well. It was recently reported that Macomb County was at 21 cases per day per 100,000, up from 15 a week earlier, and so on, and 7 on October 1st. While we all acknowledge the benefits of in-person schooling, we must also realize the balance of those positives with the potential of students and staff catching and spreading the virus. It's all about perspective, and for me, life is the real prize. Please don't let your guard down. Please heed the science and stay vigilant. Returning to school gives the illusion that we can let our guards down. State updates coupled with school outbreak notices make parenting overwhelming. My son, who is in elementary, has been having bad dreams, and my daughter dreads returning to a crowded high school hallway. Remote learning may not be our first choice, but it is the right choice at this present time. It is not always easy. It does require a new level of family engagement, compassion, and resilience, but we are finding a rhythm and we are safe. The decision to restart elementary felt like deception. Many parents opted to stay traditional, given your remote decision. Do you realize the numbers are higher now than the day the board voted to start remote? Because they are. So how can you think it is safe now? In-school learning is not a safe decision given all the uncertainties and the data. School helps prepare children for the future, but it must also teach them to live in the moment. I ask that you not be driven by mounting public pressure, because while we may all be in the same storm, we are not on the same boat. But we can do our part to help Macomb County keep the numbers down. On behalf of my family, my children, I ask that you vote for our secondary education students to stay remote and for our elementary school students to return to remote learning. If not, I ask that you require the district to allow parents the opportunity to switch their selection at this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for your comments this evening. Okay, Ms. Monier White, our next community member.
Gina Grossi is our next speaker.
Hello, Ms. Grossi.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Grossi. We can hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board.
Hello. I would like to first say thank you very much for letting me speak tonight. As you already know, that we've heard tonight, the numbers are going up. They are going up a lot higher than they were when you first let the kids come home in March. My son has doing all A's. He's been getting good grades. Forgive me, this is my first time doing something with the board, so I didn't know what to expect.
You're doing fine. Please continue.
Anyway, my son is a 501, which is he's an IEP student. And he, at the time when people were signing up for virtual learning, for some reason I wasn't getting emails, which I don't need to go into. Anyway, when school started, one of the people at the school put me back on and I started getting the emails. So my son started in remote learning. And he is thriving. He's doing great. All his assignments are perfect. And because he has ADHD and he is on medication, it would be really hard for him to go back to school and not seeing a teacher every single day. I am asking, along with everybody else, that you please consider this and keeping these kids home, at least maybe revisiting this till after the new year, because again, I fear for their safety. I also fear that if my son were to go back to school, what is he supposed to do when, these kids are not going to have a teacher every day, and the days that they are going to have a teacher, he's not going to be able to just be walking down to his caseworker teacher for help. So I'm really worried about this. He's been having nightmares. He's been depressed. He's been nervous. He's also nervous for me because I do have a lung disease, and he is worried that if he goes back to school and catches something and he were to come home and I get sick and something happens to me, then he would have to live with that. So again, I ask that you please consider what everyone else has talked about tonight. And that's pretty much all I have to say. And thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mrs. Grossi, for your comments this evening. Really appreciate you taking time to share them, and you did a very nice job at presenting them to us this evening. Okay, Ms. Monier White, we'll move on to our next community member.
The next community member is Kelly Sarver.
Hello, Ms. Sarver.
Hello.
Hi, we hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board this evening.
Hi. Before I speak, I wanted to make clear a few important points. First, I have the utmost respect for every member of the board and our central administration. I fully recognize the complexities of this whole ordeal. I applaud our superintendent and board for valuing our safety and considering delaying the move to hybrid. The point here is this: we can do better for our students by using a postponement to make our hybrid plan better and considering tweaks to our virtual schedule to support struggling students. I believe that the current hybrid plan is not in our students' or teachers' best interest. I'm a classroom teacher with 10 years of experience, currently doing my capstone course and a master's in curriculum instruction. As is, the current hybrid plan does not present a better educational outcome for students than the virtual plan, and both require some revisions. My first concern is with the instructional and interaction loss that would come as a result of a hybrid schedule. Students will only have 2 or 3 days in person each week and will be left completely on their own with no teacher contact on their asynchronous days. The setup has some drawbacks. With half the time, all of the in-class experiences become a race to get through content. The current hybrid schedule also handcuffs me in terms of best practices. I've developed my lessons, my teaching to what experts say is best for students. Strategies from Marzano, CITW, Kagan, Columbia's Teachers College, and Universal Design for Learning. Key concepts like collaborative learning, project-based learning, individual conferencing, and structured student talk. I don't know how to incorporate best practices for students with them sitting in straight rows, limited in movement and speaking with no access to technology. Before we can even move to face-to-face learning, we need to address tech issues in classrooms, including widespread problems with smartboards, printers, and other district technology. I've integrated my curriculum to be 21st century, as has been the focus of our district. My in-person students won't be able to use computers, and the district can't support student devices. I need to guide them in research and writing skills, appropriate use, and other techniques. This isn't something I can just designate for the at-home time completely on their own. At least with virtual, I can instruct my students to research or write and then collaborate and work with them during class time, albeit remotely. There are issues associated with remote learning, and there are students who are struggling. These are important problems to address, so let's rethink the virtual schedule. Include time for office hours, social emotional learning, screen breaks, support time, like other neighboring districts have implemented in their virtual schedules that we have not tried yet. Before moving to hybrid, we have the chance to improve the virtual experience for our students. I know we all want normalcy for our students and children. This hybrid plan will not provide normalcy. Students will see a very different environment than they are used to. They won't be able to congregate in the hallways, hang out in the atrium, or sit next to each other in class. Plus, the off days will provide no schedule at all, disrupting routines and creating more changes for students to adapt to. If we are focusing on equity and access, how will we create equal opportunity if students are left to fend for themselves 2 or 3 days a week? Why not build support into our current virtual schedule to provide for counseling, social emotional learning, and office hours to address struggling students? I'm speaking to provide a teacher perspective as someone who's in the classroom and will be actively participating in this proposed plan. I want to move us forward, so I have some suggestions. Use a postponement of hybrid and face-to-face learning so we can create a more supportive and realistic
Sorry, Ms.
schedule.
Sarver, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to give you that 1 minute warning. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
Oh, no problem. First, take the time to adjust the hybrid plan to reflect surrounding districts. Perhaps block scheduling, change the rotating Fridays, provide time for office hours and social emotional learning. Other districts have revamped their scheduling to support both learning and safety, and I believe Chippewa can too. Since March, you have said you support your teachers. You've trusted us to completely change the way we do our jobs 3 different times. You've put your faith in us to do our best, and now we look to you to do the same. Again, I respect and support everyone here, and I'm speaking only out of my own love and concern for the education of my students. I truly sympathize with the decision makers right now. There is no great solution. I want you to remember that your teachers are the boots on the ground who will implement your decisions. An extension of virtual learning offers a chance to adapt our schedule to reflect innovation and collaboration. With an extension of virtual learning, you can use your teachers to help in creating the plans that we will be the face of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sarver, for your comments this evening. Okay, Ms. Monia White, our next community member that wants to speak.
Cynthia Williams is the next community member.
Hello, Ms. Williams.
Hi.
Hello, Ms. Williams.
Can
We
you
hear
hear
you.
me
We hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Please share your comments with the board.
Hi. I was prepared with a statement, and I know that you guys, things have changed just as the beginning of this meeting, but I'm going to read it anyway. I'm the media specialist at Chippewa Valley High School, and I hope that you guys can find, if it doesn't provide any new for decision making today, at least you will hopefully find some consolation in some of the facts that I point out. So good evening to the school board members and to Mr. Roberts and his administration team. I know you guys have heard many voices tonight regarding opinions of the hybrid model and underlying COVID concerns. However, I just wanted to talk about the instructional challenges that we would have faced within our school walls on November 9th. First, let me start by saying this school year, our teachers, as quickly as they could, systematically overhauled the delivery of their instruction and successfully made it happen. Now we've hit our stride. We've eliminated instructional strategies that don't work. We refined ones that do. We resolved many technology issues that we faced early on, which crippled our instruction and our students' learning. How do I know this? Because the beginning of September and the beginning of October, my school days usually started at 6:30. Parents, students, counselors, teachers on most of the days needed assistance with technology to fix whatever wasn't working before school started. There was usually a race against time in these morning hours as parents would be texting me while we worked through solutions and many issues we did fix. But many spilled into the students' teachers' days that we didn't fix, and that left students without valuable instructional time. This is why Power School grading data could be misleading at this time. On that note, teachers would also call overwhelmed with SOS, needing help from teams, Schoology issues, syncing grades. The tech issues would come like a hurricane. There was like a small lull in the storm, mostly at lunchtime, and then the hurricane would start again. However, now in the last couple of weeks, I've really seen some great strides in the teachers getting their arms around the remote instruction. And I've also seen students' feedback become much more positive as they become more comfortable with remote instruction. So on behalf of myself and my colleagues, we feel that the rug was being pulled out from under us, and we had to recreate and overhaul the delivery of our instruction yet again, now to a hybrid model, mid-semester, with whatever we had in a time-sensitive rush situation. Currently, we're not equipped to provide the tech resources, among other supplemental items, at the capacity we were prior to the COVID shutdown. We sent home a significantly large number of laptops for students to use remotely. These laptops will not work in our building without the help desk re-imaging all of them. And these laptops are used heavily in the classrooms throughout the school day on normal school days. This leaves our brick and mortar classrooms with a huge technology gap for our face-to-face students if we started on November 9th. This also poses many issues as we try to remain safe and eliminate and reduce passing of papers through student and teachers' hands. We are aiming for all assignments to be turned in electronically, and right now this isn't feasible unless we have students use their own phones with their own data and broadband, and that's not an equitable solution, as families should not have to foot the bill for unlimited data on their child's phone for school purposes. Further, no fault of the district, the timing just happened to collide, but we all had new technology equipment installed within our classrooms over the summer. New smartboards, workstations, Microsoft Surfaces were all integrated into our classrooms, which some are still not functioning 100% properly, yet all these tools are fabulous, but the reality is they're just not working correctly at this moment in time. Subsequently, HR sent out a notice with a slew of vacant support positions we have within our district. These positions left unfilled leave us at the secondary levels with basically a skeleton crew for operations. Additionally, we're already facing severe substitute shortages prior to the COVID, and now with C-19 restrictions, it could be very difficult to cover all face-to-face teacher absences, which could occur in our building at any moment in time. This leads our teachers to losing their prep times to cover other classrooms, which now, with a hybrid model, our prep time is even more critical than ever, so we can use it to reach out to our remote students at home. A colleague put a survey out on social media. I know we're all watching that, to our secondary teachers, and a majority of the responses when I viewed it last heavily favored the professional opinion that the best instructional course of action at this point is to stay the course for the remainder of the semester and stay remote. Juggling in-person learning with virtual learning will drastically affect the delivery of our instruction and the quality of the students' education. This is basically sending a ship out to sea with a hole in the boat. It's
I'm
not
sorry,
fair to
Ms.
our
Williams,
students.
to interrupt you. Just want to give that 1 minute warning. Please continue.
Yep, thank you. I got 1 minute. Okay, it's not fair to our students nor our teachers to have them recreate the instructional wheel on the fly yet again for just a handful of in-person instructional days until the end of the semester. So I urge you on behalf of the students and the majority of teachers to reconsider the November 9th start date, which sounds like you guys already are, and let the educators take the wheel with remote learning and with our newly refined instructional practices. We ask for the chance to show you real comparable data at the semester's end that portrays that the CVS teaching staff are successful with remote instruction and student learning, and growth is happening now more than ever in this part of the semester. Please reconsider this change and let us finish what we worked so hard to get up and running successfully. Thank you so much for your time and consideration tonight. I hope our professional teaching staff is given the opportunity to soar and finish this semester remotely. And thank you, and you're all very much appreciated. I know this is a tough decision.
Okay, Ms. Williams, thank you for your comments this evening. Ms. Monia White, do we have another community member?
Karen Rosso is our next community member.
Hello, Ms. Rosso?
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Rosso. We can hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board.
Thank you. To begin, I'd like to thank the school board and the administration of Chippewa Valley School System for this time to express my concerns. My name is Dr. Karen Rosso. I'm a fellow, board certified in healthcare administration from the American College of Healthcare Executives, and have worked in healthcare 35 plus years, and now work as a professor in higher education, currently in the online environment. My scholarly research has been in pandemics, and I have presented both nationally and internationally on the topic. In addition, I have published articles in peer-reviewed journals as well as book chapters on the topic. However, I come to you tonight as a grandmother of two who are currently enrolled in the Chippewa Valley school system, as well as having two family members employed full-time. Data given at the last school board meeting was concerning. Prevalence refers to the proportion of persons who have a condition at or during a particular time period, whereas incidence refers to the proportion or rate of persons who develop a condition during a particular time period. So prevalence and incidence are similar, but prevalence includes new and pre-existing cases, where incidence includes new cases only. The data shared was expressed in terms of per million population, though used frequently can also be misleading. To be clear, incidence and prevalence rates are normally reported per 100,000 population. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reports in this manner. Data obtained from Macomb County dashboard on October 30th at 2:20 p.m. shows the highest rate of cases by date of illness onset since the start of the pandemic in March. The cases by referral date reached an all-time high of 296 on October 29th alone. As of October 30th, there were 18,456 cases with 1,046 deaths. Yet 3 days later, on November 2nd, the CDC reported 19,730 cases with 1,098 deaths. I hope you can see the dramatic increase in just 3 days. According to the CDC, core indicators and threshold for risk of introduction and transmission of COVID-19 in schools, the highest rate, red, has the greatest risk of transmission in schools. This is defined as number of new cases per 100,000 persons within the last 14 days. Greater than 200 cases is the most serious, red. Please look more closely at your current numbers. The World Health Organization and the CDC have expressed their concerns of a second wave of COVID. We have only begun the second wave and will expect it to last a few months. Because of the second wave and growing concern of virulence, the CDC has released new information. There's growing evidence of transmission risk from infected people without symptoms, asymptomatic, or before the onset of recognized symptoms, pre-symptomatic. There is increased community transmission in many parts of the country, including Macomb County. Thus, the CDC provided new changes in social distancing, which includes timeframes. At the last meeting, it was suggested that the school could not guarantee 6 feet in social distancing, but 3.5
Sorry,
feet.
Dr. Russell, I have to interrupt you. Just give you that 1 minute warning to wrap it up. Please continue.
Okay, this currently is not working as you already have teachers and students test COVID-19 positively and currently have entire classrooms who are in quarantine. According to Education Weekly, even before COVID-19, some of the school district's liability policies excluded communicable diseases from coverage. In other cases, insurers have notified districts just in the past few months that they will not cover claims stemming from pandemics. This means that many districts are potentially on their own to cover legal costs and damages stemming from a civil lawsuit from a parent or student alleging that they have contacted COVID-19 due to a district's failure to protect against exposure to infection. As board members, you have fiduciary responsibility to the children you serve. This includes the ethical principles of beneficence and non-maleficence. You've mentioned the potential educational disparities, but have you considered the health disparities related to COVID? By far, families of racial, ethnic, and poverty backgrounds have far greater challenges seeking access to care as well as treatment if you look at the COVID data. Please reconsider your decision and pass a motion to keep secondary schools remote until after the holidays, the second wave of COVID is under control and below the 5% threshold as promised. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Russell, for your comments this evening. Okay, Ms. Moninger-White, do we have another community member?
Mary Watanabe is our next speaker.
Ms. Watanabe?
Hello?
Hello, Ms. Watanabe. We can hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board.
Hello, my name is Mary Watanabe. I am a junior at Chippewa Valley High School. And I want to start off by thanking the board for giving the community a chance to speak our opinions. I'm speaking to you all here today because I believe our students should be safe at home and that the CVVA is not a viable option for many students, including me. Students are not safe if they are not home for the following reasons. The CDC states that schools and communities with a COVID case positivity rate that is over 10% is at the highest risk of transmission. Macomb is currently at a 10.6% case positivity rate, which puts our schools at the highest risk for transmission. This week, West Bloomfield and Huron Valley schools have stopped their in-person schooling despite Oakland County's case positivity rate being only a 7.6%. In March, when we were removed from school, our 7-day moving average in the state of Michigan was roughly 1,500 cases a day. Now our cases have spiked again to over 3,000 a day. I don't understand how at this time, given the data you have just heard, you can believe it is in your students, staff, and community's best interest to return to in-person learning. The Chippewa Valley Virtual Academy was meant to be an option for families who didn't feel safe returning to in-person learning or who had family health issues. I'm in one of those families. My grandmother has ovarian cancer and is currently going through chemotherapy to treat it. She has taken only 1 round of chemo and has already been hospitalized. My mother has gone down to visit and care for her during her chemotherapy. Returning to in-person schooling in any model puts my immune-compromised grandmother at immense risk. That would leave me with the CVVA as my only option. But this is not viable for many reasons. In moving to the CVVA, my schedule will be irreparably damaged. 3 of my classes were only scheduled during second hour, and no government classes, honors or otherwise, were offered at all. I would be placed into a minimum 2-hour study hall and be thrown into a class I have no experience in 10 weeks into the semester. I would also have to make up a quarter of government class to graduate. On top of this, I would be introduced to new teachers and teaching styles I have not already grown accustomed to. This would not just affect my education detrimentally, but my mental well-being as well. If you continue with the plan to move to hybrid next week, you are making my family choose between our health and safety and my education and future. Now I'm trusting you to make the right choice for our community and extend our remote learning during this time of increased infection. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Watanabe. All right, Ms. Monyer-White, we have another parent.
Kelly Schroeder is our next speaker.
Hello?
Hello, Ms. Ferner. Please share your comments with the board.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I probably going to sound a little redundant, but we've been collaborating as secondary education, and we feel a lot of our teachers do not feel safe, and the schools are not ready to bring back students on the 9th mid-semester when COVID cases are rising and spiking. There's no cure or real treatment for COVID, and nobody knows the long-term repercussions of the virus. Cases are far worse than they were in September. Also, since there is no consensus or real consequences for people not following the CDC guidelines, it puts everyone at risk. There already has been numerous outbreaks, and we're not even back to face-to-face. Before COVID, there was a lack of substitute teachers, and teachers had to sub on their prep hour. So if a student tests positive, would that mean that every teacher that student came in contact with would have to quarantine, plus all the students in the class, plus all the teachers that those students came in contact with? I think you could do the math. All the technology issues in the schools also have not been worked out. As it was said before, students' laptops will not work in school and at home. They would have to be re-imaged. There are some students that just finally received a laptop after being in school for numerous weeks. There are still teachers that have issues with their smart boards, computers, surfaces, printers, and software. The help desk has not been able to get to any of these issues, or all these issues, I say. They got to a lot of issues, but they are so overwhelmed and understaffed. I don't think parents understand what this actually is going to look like. There will be no contact with students on the days they are not in the classroom. Right now, my students are with me since I teach a software program all hour for the entire hour, and I take them step by step through their instruction. And then since I've just had students that either got newer computers or upgraded the computers or finally got the programs to download, I come home after I eat and feed my dog. I have one-on-one contact with either one or two or three students a night from 4:30 at night to 9:30 at night to get them caught up. I will not do that if we go back to hybrid. All of us teachers are overwhelmed, and we're finally getting a hang of the technology and remote learning. This would be detrimental, and it would be basically a kick in the butt to us teachers.
Okay, Ms. Schroeder, I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you have 1 minute to close the comments?
Okay.
Sorry to
I'm just saying the lack of custodians due to proper cleaning. We can't get the proper cleaning products. Our head custodian is leaving. The other one is farmed out. It'll leave us no custodians during the daytime. And I'm assuming that their jobs are hard to fill just because they're not offered a livable wage to start with. But the final thoughts, the hardest thing that a teacher could ever go to is the death of a student. And we don't want to bury any of our students. And you can't guarantee us that we won't. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Schroeder, for your comments this evening. Okay, Ms. Monyer-White, we have another community member wanting to speak.
Alessandro Romero is our next speaker.
Hello, Mr. Romero. Hello, Alessandro Romero.
Hello, is it
Hello,
working
Alessandro Romero.
now? Yes.
Hi, hi, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead and share your comments with the board this evening.
Very good. Good evening, Board of Education and other community members. I'm a first-year student at Dakota High School who is concerned with the current hybrid learning plan. I partake in geometry, accelerated geometry, advanced English, AP World History, writing for publication, honors biology, and freshman German, which were not offered to attend for CVVA. However, I have a few contingencies that I found that could be a problem for my peers and I during hybrid schooling. First, lecture and lesson quality will roll from the 2 to 3 day weeks. Although I am a student, I detect several incompatibilities between my teachers and this plan. In the past, our teachers have created lessons and lectures based on a 5-day-week period. Granted, teachers incorporated work time into these days. Thus, daily lectures have used up their time. While in theory, teachers have enough time to put 2 lectures into a day as we cut out assignment time, that is an ostensible way to allocate time. There is more than just a teacher telling you some facts and giving you an assignment. Quality teachers give thorough lessons or students to constantly give feedback. Assignments are feedback for the teacher to show the content. The students know the content through applying it. However, by not giving the time to process each lesson with an assignment every other day or so, they now must process 2 lectures with a single assignment. This can be turbulent when the second lecture from before builds upon ideas established by the first lesson. In this case, if a student has a shortcoming, the teacher cannot know until 2 days after the first lectures when he or she must give an additional 2 lessons. Therefore, a teacher cannot give good lessons and lectures to their students as the feedback they receive from students during these lectures we are not able to analyze what the students know. Second, the student's education is going to suffer dramatically during the method of hybrid learning. While it has been said that remote schooling has lowered students' ability to understand its content, this schedule cannot support better schooling. The student already works with lower quality lessons during class, but the worst is at home since students must effectively do the work with content they are likely not to understand for the reasons that have been aforementioned in the first reason. Then there's the issue with teachers not being available until the next day. With overall lack of understanding for their content, they are bound to fail. Even the most scholarly students will suffer from bursts of information and droughts as they cannot catch the information in a brief period. This can be even worse on Fridays, as either Group B or A will miss 2 days, not including weekends, of lecture and expected to do 2 days of constant work. So the students' grades will even further slump into abysmal levels as they do not even know, as they have an even further lack of understanding. Overall, through a lack of communication leads to a student misunderstanding a subject that is accentuated by hybrid learning, students' grades will drop further than ever before. Hopefully the district and overhaul...
Excuse me, Mr. Romero. Just give you a 1-minute warning. Please continue with your comments.
Oh, yes, I'm almost done. Thank you. Hopefully the district can overhaul and delay the implementation of the new plan to at least suffice the fundamental communication between students and teachers in order to achieve the goal all schools should achieve, the goal of students receiving a quality education. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Okay, Ms. Monyer-White, do we have another community member wishing to speak?
We do. Beth Wallace is our next speaker.
Hello, Ms. Wallace.
Yes, hi there. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board.
Great, thank you. I am the mother. Oh, okay, sorry, my phone keeps muting and unmuting.
No, go ahead.
I'm the mother of 2 seniors at Dakota. Today I received an email from the school district stating that my daughter was exposed to COVID-19 through Dakota's Color Guard and that she should quarantine for 14 days. The problem is the exposure occurred on October 23rd, a full 10 days before we were actually informed. The exposure was significant enough that we were told to quarantine, but we were not told to do so until the 14-day quarantine period is mere days from being over. I called the district COVID nurse to express concern that we were not told sooner and was informed that the family had actually reported their symptoms to the district a week ago, but received their positive COVID test results this morning. So let me reiterate, the family reported symptoms a week ago, but color guard families were not told until today. In that intervening week, the marching band performed at another football game, and the entire guard was a potential risk to the rest of the marching band because the families were not told. In that intervening week, we visited my elderly mother and unknowingly put her at risk because the families were not told. In that intervening week, we had to make a trip to the emergency room for another matter, and without our knowledge, potentially exposed doctors, nurses, and other patients because families were not told. Thank God we always follow COVID precautions by wearing masks because we were walking hazards to our community members and our family members because we were not told in a timely manner that there was a presumptive positive case that had been reported to the district. All color guard families should have been told about this report so that we could make informed decisions about our activities and our movements this past week. But instead, we were unknowing risks as we moved through our community. Do I think my daughter or the rest of my family has COVID? Thank God, no. But if the district couldn't keep my kids safe and informed in a group of 25 girls, then how will you keep my kids safe and informed when they're jammed in a building for 6 hours a day with 1,000 other students? I already knew that once our kids start hybrid face-to-face learning, there'll be no point at which I can trust that my kids have not been exposed. But now I know that the school district could know about potential exposures and not even tell us. Based on rising cases and all the best science we have, just like everyone else who's spoken, I don't think it's the right time to put our kids back in the school building. But regardless of what you decide about where our kids learn, I urge you, please improve your communication procedures in order to reduce the risk of community spread. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace, for your comments this evening. We have another community member, Ms. Minor-White.
We do. Tiffany Morelli is our next speaker.
Hi, Ms. Morelli. Hello, Ms. Morelli.
Hi.
Hi, we can hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board.
Okay. I'd like to say thanks to the board and Ron Roberts for giving me the opportunity to voice my opinion. Let me preface this by saying I myself attended Chippewa Valley Schools from elementary through high school along with my brother. I was the first graduating class at Dakota in 1998. My dad retired from Chippewa Valley Schools after teaching and coaching for the district for over 30 years. My mom also attended Chippewa Valley and graduated in 1972. This is the reason I chose to live in this district and raise my 3 boys within the district. Chippewa has always gone above and beyond for their students. As individuals, we may have different opinions on what is most beneficial environment for our children. I have a kindergartner, 8th grader, and 11th grader. My kindergartner is now back hybrid at Sequoia. He is learning more in the 2 to 3 days a week in person than he was 5 days at home virtual. Getting him to sit and focus at home created anxiety for him, myself, and my mom, who would fill in while my husband and I were working. He absolutely loves going to school and loves his teachers. My 8th and 11th grader are plugging along, but they are not learning like they should. When in school, you have no choice but to focus on being at home with the many distractions. I work in one of the local emergency departments, and yes, I see patients coming in with positive COVID tests. I also see them being discharged home to safely monitor their symptoms and quarantine. Yes, we have some admitted, but the majority have other medical problems that contribute to their admission. We are seeing higher numbers because we have testing available on every corner, whereas a few months ago, the tests were not readily available. I myself had COVID also in August. No one in my family contracted the virus from me. I'm 40 years old, I have factor V, and I'm prone to having complications. Luckily, the symptoms were mild and I just couldn't taste or smell for a week. I feel the hybrid for elementary is working for now, and the middle schoolers and high schoolers deserve a chance. They need to wear the mask, practice good hygiene, And for those that don't feel safe, they should have options as well. I have no reservations sending my kids back to school, and I'm working in the hospital with these patients. People keep mentioning the increase in numbers, and that's because of the increase in tests available, as well as the kids and community members that are still gathering together without those proper precautions in place. Working in the ER, I see multiple adults and kids that come in daily for mental health issues. The number of patients we have detoxing and placed on ventilators for alcohol detox is scary. People are using substances to cope. I see the overdoses and the kids that come in who have attempted suicide. I lost my brother to an accidental overdose almost 2 years ago. My parents were absolutely devastated to lose him. We all were. I pray none of you ever have to experience that in their lifetime. I see the parents in the ER that bring in their kids that are using drugs to cope with depression and isolation, and they are at a loss. This is nothing new, but it has increased the last year. I see parents that can't cope with the stress and are abusing substances themselves. Not everyone has the support from other family members to help. There are so many that are struggling just to be able to get access for their kids to attend the classes. Everyone is focused on the rise in numbers, but not talking about the survival rate. This is a virus that is not going to go away. I see those posts every time that one person or two people test positive, and I want to say, of course, there's going to be positive cases. There's 15,000 kids in the district amongst staff. Quarantine those that are positive, just like you would keep at home your child if they were sick with any other virus.
I'm sorry, Ms. Morelli, I just wanted to give you that one minute warning to wrap it up. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
Oh, no, you're fine. Other schools are making it work and have opened and are taking those steps forward and reevaluating as needed. We need to at least try to take steps forward as this virus isn't going anywhere. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Morelli, for your comments this evening. And we're very sorry to hear about the loss of your brother. Okay. Ms. Monier White, do we have another community member?
Nicole T. is our next community member.
Okay. Nicole T. Hello, Nicole T. Hello, Nicole T.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you loud and clear. Please share your comments with the board.
Hi. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk tonight. I would like to say, please let these middle school and high school kids go back to school as previously voted on. I have an elementary and a middle schooler, and my middle schooler has been watching my elementary student get to wake up 2 to 3 times a week and see the excitement when he leaves for school. Meanwhile, the mental health of my 7th grader has slowly been getting worse. She has not seen a classroom since last March. She sits 5 days a week for 6 hours a day staring at a screen. She is slowly losing that joy that she used to have. While I respect all teachers and what they have been doing, I must say that the education she is receiving currently virtually is not up to par. She has numerous classes where there is absolutely no teaching happening. That's right, no teaching happening. I also have heard many nurses call in and speak about all the numbers of COVID cases in the hospitals. Well, I too am a nurse. I am a pediatric nurse, and I want to share about the mental health side. Since March, the rise of suicide attempts and abuse cases have skyrocketed. And since March, I can tell you, at my hospital alone, we have had less than 5 cases hospitalized, less than 5. And currently, COVID cases in our hospital, we only have 25 as of today. If we continue to be vigilant in hand washing and wearing our masks, I feel it will be safe for our children to go back. They are being robbed of an education. They are being robbed of their childhood. So I ask you again to please consider the mental health of these children. All everybody is talking about is the increase in the COVID numbers. What about the increase in the abuse, the increase in suicides? That has to be addressed. It's a very real and serious issue. It's just as serious as COVID. So please consider the mental health of our children and send them back to school face to face with all the safety measures that are currently in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments this evening to the board. Okay, Ms. Monier White, we have a few community members that we missed earlier. I think probably weren't on the line. Do we have any that are wishing to speak now?
I do not see any of the registered speakers in the call. So I think that was the last of our comments for the evening.
Okay. All right,
Excuse me. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I signed up to speak, and I just wanted to ask if my number isn't registered to my name. If that's okay, could you check?
We do ask community members to register ahead of time to speak at the
I
meeting.
registered on Tuesday, last week.
I don't see this phone number. Maybe you called from a different phone number. Mr. Bednard, would you like to go ahead and?
We'll make an exception this
Oh,
time.
thank you so much.
Can
That's
you
great.
please
I
make
am
sure you
so
provide your
sorry.
name?
Could
and
you please give us your name?
Yes. My name is Maria Giulia Ristini. I am a student at Chippewa Valley High School as an 11th grader. May I start, please?
Yes, please go ahead and share
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. It is an honor to be here and speak with the board today, especially because of what happened. I am so sorry. I'd like to start by saying that any death is a disaster, but I'd like to also talk about numbers. On October 31st, there were 35 COVID deaths in Michigan, and on the 29th, there were 45 deaths. If we reopen schools, these numbers might grow, and that is unacceptable. If we tested every student and faculty that entered Chippewa Valley School for COVID-19, maybe the risk would be smaller, but that is not realistic. Putting thousands of students back into agglomeration will only put us in danger, and the worst part is that we have no options, especially high school students. In my case, if I come home with COVID-19, my dad would not survive it. He does not use 20% of his lungs, and he would be hospitalized, to say the least. I'm obliged to quarantine from my own parents in the house we share, just so I can get half of the education I was getting in online school. If students that are in the hybrid learning setting want to switch to CVVA, they have to be put in a list because there are so many of us that are scared to go back. On top of that, there are classes that do not exist as an online option, and that would result in credit loss or loss of a chance of getting into a prestigious college. I, for example, have 5 out of 6 classes that are not available in the CVVA program, so realistically, I do not have an option, but you do. Because COVID-19 can be transmitted and spread before any of us show any symptoms, the risk of bringing the virus home increases. I have friends who are in the high-risk group, who have family members who are in the high-risk group, and I myself will not be able to interact with my own family because of that. Healthcare is expensive, and if my dad ends up in the hospital, the only thing my mom and I will have left is hope, and unfortunately, that is the case for a lot of our families in the district. Why do we students and our teachers have to duel on the lives of our loved ones because we are uncomfortable looking at a computer screen? This is not about being comfortable, it is about staying alive. Since most students don't have a choice, we are in danger. Our parents, the faculty, and faculty families are in danger. In middle school or high school, we come in contact with so many people daily, if it's by passing them in the hallways or sitting near them in the classroom, that the amount of people that might come into contact with one person that has COVID can be astronomical. The spread of the disease to our parents, grandparents, and faculty can result in a much wider problem since they are older and in a higher risk of death. The virus can spread to the community, and we would have to shut down again. There is a possibility, however, for the number of cases and deaths to go down in about 2 months, and for vaccines to start being distributed to the high-risk group. With that in mind, I'd like to ask a question. Why don't we wait until the semester is over? If we do wait, the benefits far outweigh the disadvantages, and we would be able to go back for good. Our safety is in your hands. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, was that Ms. Restini?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It
Okay,
was Ms. Rustini. Is my name there? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'll give you 1 minute to close up if you want, or are you all set?
Oh, no. I am all set. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Restini, and we're sorry for that mix-up. But you are a registered community member here on our list, and we just we had you third in,
That's okay.
we appreciate you waiting to speak with us this evening.
That's all right. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, is there any others that were registered, Ms. Monty White, that wish to speak? We have about 3 other parents that we didn't hear from that asked to speak to us this evening.
None of the numbers I have are registered.
Okay. Okay, that will conclude our community comment for this evening. Want to again thank our parents and our students and our community members so much for their appropriate and heartfelt comments and The board certainly appreciates hearing from them this evening. Okay, moving on to E from the community. I'm sorry, moving on to F, old business. We have none this evening. Moving to G, new business. G1, approve helmet and shoulder pad reconditioning services, Mr. Sutherland.
I recommend. Hello? Hello? Is it on? The recommended motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve the low bidders for a one-year contract with an option to renew annually for an additional 5 years for middle school and varsity helmet and shoulder pad reconditioning.
Can we have a motion? Moved by Mr. McZack. Support by Mr. Patzert. Rationale, please.
Aggressive pricing was obtained through the public bidding process RFB 14.2021. The proposals were reviewed and approved by the athletic directors and purchasing offices. Funding will come from the general fund for this purchase.
Questions or comments by the board?
Mr. Bednard, I have one.
Ms. Pyden.
Mr. Sutherland, have we used this company before?
Yes, both companies.
Oh, okay. I just had a concern when you said we're going with the low bidder if we haven't used them before.
So we're using both bidders.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nays? None. Motion passes. G2. Here. G2, approved contract for automatic external defibrillator AED purchase. Mr. Sutherland.
The recommended motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education award a contract totaling $33,595 to Adventric Technologies for automatic external defibrillators AEDs district-wide.
Motion, please. Moved by Mr. Sobal.
Support.
Supported by Ms. Cardamone. Rationale, please.
This project will consist of replacing 44 AEDs district-wide to meet FDA regulations. The bids received were reviewed with the Building and Site Subcommittee on Monday, October 19, 2020, and funding will come from the 2018 Building and Site Fund.
Questions or comments by the board?
Yeah, I just have a question. How long do these last?
The ones that we're replacing, I believe, are somewhere between, I want to say 10 to 12 years old. The reason that we're replacing them, again, in the write-up is there's some irregularities in the ones that we're replacing, so we have to upgrade them to meet current FDA standards. So if it wasn't for that, we could still continue to use them.
Questions or comments on the board? Okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Let's make note in the record, please, that Mr. Patzert had to step out for a second and that he was excused from that vote, which passed by 6-0 margin. Okay. Moving on to G3, approved door access control expansion bid award. Mr. Sutherland.
The recommended motions that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve a contract totaling $347,991.98 for door access control expansion district-wide to the following contractor.
Motion. Moved by Mr. Sobal, supported by Ms. Cardamone. Rationale, please.
This project will consist of expanding the door access controls to buildings around the district. The bids received were reviewed with the Building and Site Subcommittee on Monday, October 19, 2020, and funding will come from the 2018 18 building and site fund. This project is scheduled to start in the winter 2020.
Questions or comments by the board?
I have a question.
Ms. Aquino?
So these are, did I read this correctly? These are additional card readers that are being installed?
Correct, both interior and exterior doors, yes.
And the reason for the addition is what?
Expansion of what we currently have set up in many of the areas in our buildings. The current bond, we allocated a certain number of new doors, playground doors, places like that where we didn't have card readers. And this bond allowed for expansion of our existing number of doors.
Okay. So is this part of our safety, upgrades to our safety and security of our building?
Yes, correct. It is part of the safety and security part of the bond.
Okay.
Mr. Silva?
I'm good.
Okay. Ms. Cardamone? Okay. Any other questions by the board?
Yeah, I had a question.
Mr. Mixak?
So am I understanding this right? We're going to have workers in the building to do this?
So the interior doors will be done on second shift. And then the exterior doors on a case-by-case basis will be done either on first shift or second shift, depending on whether kids are in the building or not. So for the most part, it's going to be done on second shift unless there's a door that we have to get to during the day and there are no kids in the building.
But staff will be.
Potentially.
So we're going to allow construction workers in the building for non-emergency procedures, but not children.
For exterior doors, interior doors, no. Exterior doors, we may have that issue, yes.
Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
The record show Mr. Mixak voted nay. Motion passes. Moving on to G4, reconfirm the extended COVID-19 learning plan. Mr. Roberts.
Recommended motion that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education reconfirm the extended COVID-19 learning plan for the 2020-21 school year.
Motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Ms. Aquino. Supported by Ms. Cardamone. Rationale, please.
This is a requirement of Public Act 149. It must be done on a monthly basis.
Okay. Questions, comments by the board? Ms. Cardamone?
My question is, in regards to the report itself, it indicates that we approved effective November 9th and instructions to be delivered in a hybrid learning environment. If will this document be amended and we'll need to re-vote on it if the vote for the next agenda item is approved?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to check. Do you? That will be reflected in the next report? Yeah. Dr. Broski says the change tonight will be reflected in the next report at the first meeting in December.
Is it something that, Ron, that I think me and Laura are asking just, it goes forward for the previous month, or, I mean,
is it
something that we could change following the vote tonight to reflect? If there was a change, if it's not, leave it, and I'll come in tomorrow and sign it.
So, you want to go ahead?
Mr. Bednard, we can adjust that and amend the plan this evening, pending a decision by the board.
Okay. They're just, right now, as it stands, we are beginning hybrid for secondary November 9th. Unless the next item, if that were to change based on the vote of the next item, then they would amend, as I understand this, Mr. Broski or Dr. Broski, to reflect that vote and staying remote if it were to change.
That's correct.
Mr. Bednar, can I have a point of privilege, please?
Sure.
Maybe we should move, I'm going to suggest we move this vote until after G5 so that we are actually voting on a correct plan.
Mr. Roberts, do we have a time frame we have to have this turned in by? Monthly, or we do have some room in this, or is this something that needs to be done?
No, we'll do this monthly. So this is we need to do this evening. So I think, are you talking, Ms. Biden, just amending the agenda right now and then reversing these items?
Yes, I would just like to table this for 10 minutes to move this actually to G6. So that we'd be voting on a correct plan based on what the next vote outcome would be.
All right, I agree with that. We will table voting on G4 until following G5. So it's tabled for the moment.
You have to have a vote on it.
All right, so if we're going to vote on this, we're not changing the agenda. Okay, so we have a motion to table item G4 and bring it up following G5.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Piden, supported by Ms. Cardamone. Again, we'll be tabling G4 to be voted on and brought back and voted on following G5. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. All right, moving on to G5. G5, motion to delay the start of in-person instruction for secondary students. It's a recommended motion that the Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education approve delaying the scheduled return of secondary students to the classroom beyond the November 9th target date. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Piden, supported by Ms. Cardamone. The rationale, the scheduled return to in-person instruction on November 9th is not recommended at this time due to the increased spread of COVID-19 in our community. Conditions related to COVID-19 will be continuously assessed with the goal of returning secondary students to the classroom as soon as possible. Questions or comments by the board? Mr. Roberts, Mr. Patrick's wondering about how we will assess. Will it be a weekly, daily, monthly? How will that run?
Well, we monitor data daily. So what we'll look for is a positive pattern in data, and we'll come back to the Board of Education with the time. We'll report that to the community and what we're looking for. We'll try to get something more in line with our move to in-person for elementary. This just took off after that. I would like to give a target date, but that's, my background skills are, I'm limited in my knowledge of infectious diseases. So I follow things at the sites to try to understand them, but that's what we're going to have to watch for, is just watch for a reverse in the trend that's going on right now.
Mr. Patrick.
I would like to have a target date. I mean, we can always say at the target date, we could at that time vote no, but right now it just seems to be too undecided. It seems like if we're going to change our vote, we're going to change our decision. It should be January 1st or whatever that date is, after Christmas vacation, that we revisit it and have a target date. Right now, I don't like it, just endless.
I could give you a verbal target date. I don't know if that would impact this motion, but if that would help,
I couldn't vote for it if it was just undecided. I wouldn't vote for the motion if there was no end to it. To me, it's just endless the way it looks.
Well, it's not written here, but in thinking ahead of where we are right now and what's between now and the Christmas holiday, and then returning from that, a realistic target date as soon as possible would be the start of the second semester.
Okay, so if I'm voting to support this, then and is the assumption strong enough that we're going to revisit it after Christmas vacation? Is it not being in some kind of form, more strong form? Is that acceptable? I mean, I'm just having a hard time with it.
I think it's just, you can't. I guess what he's saying is just, it could be next week if the numbers are right. And why would you want to wait to that date out there if we could start it next week?
It could be June.
So, I mean, that's kind of what I think Ron's saying, but we can give him I guess we could put a date in. Denise, do you want to say something?
Well, I'm not trying to circumvent Andy's, but maybe I have a question that maybe.
Is your mic on?
Pardon?
Is your mic on?
Is my mic on? Yeah, it is on. You know how quiet I am. So that's probably why.
Yeah, that's better.
Anyway, so perhaps, or I'm sure that in your mind and the administration's mind, there's probably a target percentage that we are looking at, which might be 5% and below. Is that real? Is that real?
I be honest, I could not commit to that, only because with how we're advised by the Macomb County Health Department, that has not been a defined as a threshold.
Oh, okay. So
I think that the data is used, multiple pieces of data to make a decision.
Okay.
So the positivity rate, combined with the 7-day
prevalence.
rolling average, those
Okay.
types of things.
All right, so maybe is there a way we can report that out? And when we see a certain data point, is that we can say to the community, we're going to look at these data points? Is there a report that we could put out?
Yeah, we can inform the community on some of the data points that we used here, and then how those data points might look. But it's in my experience thus far in working with the Macomb County Health Department, they have not defined specific things that say if X, Y, and Z happen, that's okay then.
Okay.
So,
All right, well then.
Mr. Roberts, can you hear me?
Yes.
So we had so many emails, so many from different sources, from the staff and from the community, and it just the same date kept reoccurring after Christmas break, after Christmas break, after Christmas break. I mean, it just seemed to be the tale of all people involved in our emailing process. We have a few weeks of school a break, few weeks of school a break, and that January new semester seems to be a realistic target for reevaluation. So, I mean, I would like to see a target date, and then, if it's not at that time, if it's not healthy or if it's not safe, we can do what we're doing today. But I mean, just not to have a target date in there it just seems not fair to the people in the district that want their kids to go back to school. So we want to accommodate to safety, but on the other hand, I feel we should have a date that we can tell people on the other side that, okay, we're going to revisit it at this date.
Okay, and I think that we could make that work later on in the agenda under administrative reports. I can name a target date, and it will be reflected in the minutes.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Mr. Roberts said he would go ahead and address a target date and put it on the record during administrative reports later this evening.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, all right,
Put it
then
on
that would be, it'd be in our minutes for this meeting.
Okay. All right. Other questions by the board? Comments, Mr. Soball?
If we're recommending that it's not safe for our middle schoolers and high schoolers to go back in, then why aren't we recommending that our elementaries be moved to virtual at this time also?
We'll be talking about that. It's just the way the timeline worked for doing this today. We really haven't addressed that issue fully. And it is, there are different factors that we need to talk about. And those factors are the rate of COVID in that age child. And I think that's something that should be talked about. I mean, it would still, the decision might be the same to have our elementary move back to remote, but it is different just because it's a different age group.
Thank you.
Ms. Putnam?
Okay. Did you hear? We can't hear.
I'll repeat it. Mr. Roberts, would you also be giving us a target date to reevaluate whether or not elementary school will revert to virtual instruction in your administration reports as well?
I could give a date for coming to a recommendation. I would not be prepared tonight to give a date for that actually happening. So if I gave a target date for, because we'll need time administratively to discuss this issue.
Sure.
So if I put in a target date that we'll meet administratively and make a recommendation to the board or however we're going to do that, and do that by the end of the week, I think that's reasonable for us to do.
I would agree with you. Thank you.
Ms. Quino?
Okay, so let's just say the target date is after the holidays in January or whenever the semester ends. So if there's like some sort of divine intervention or something and all of a sudden it's just, God has cured this, we will go back sooner, correct?
Oh my gosh, we'll load the buses if we get divine intervention.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted
Yeah,
to know that we
yeah.
are not, yes,
They'll be rolling.
we're that's our target date, but we're definitely going to look at as soon as we think it's safe, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mixak?
After the last vote, we all get emails from the other side depending on what we vote on or what we talk
Right.
about. So I can guarantee you, starting tonight and through the next 2 weeks, we're going to be getting emails from the other side of people who think that we should have gone back to school.
Yeah.
I do not think that this school year, there will ever be a time when both sides are happy or can agree that it is a safe time. I don't know that there's ever going to be a time on this school year that this board will ever agree that there's a safe time to go back. Because I think some of us are on very opposite ends of what they think is acceptable to go back to school. And the only way that I can see this happening this year is if we come up with a different solution. If we either have to open up the CBAA or we're going to have to somehow appease both sides because everybody has good arguments.
Right.
And we come back after the holiday break and there's going to be people that still don't think it's safe to go back. And they're going to be concerned that it's going to skyrocket again.
That's a good point.
When we started the CBAA, if anybody thinks that that's done this year, this school year.
Oh, no.
That's probably going to be an ongoing option that we're going to have to consider.
Yep.
So it may be worth spending some time and trying to figure out how to tweak it so that both sides can, I don't want to say be happy because nobody's going to be happy, but be able to go on, because I empathize with these teachers that are burned out, because I'm burned out. I can't imagine that anybody on this stage isn't burned out. The kids are burned out. And going back and forth each meeting, deciding the opposite of what we decided the week before, I mean, that's not good for anybody. I mean, I know there's a ton of people now that are trying to figure out what they're going to tell their kids that they're not going back to school if this is how we vote, myself included. They've been gearing up for it. And I mean, the teachers are gearing up for what are we doing the rest of this week? Middle school had school one day this week, which would be Wednesday. So are they going to school now on Thursday and Friday if we vote to not go back?
Well, isn't this just for secondary that we're talking about right now?
Yes, and middle school does not have school on Thursday or Friday of this week.
That would be correct.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
The whole
All right.
middle school does not have school because of the sixth grade orientation.
Right.
And then Friday was supposed to be a professional development day to prepare for hybrid. So if we're not doing that, do they still just have one day of school this week?
Yeah, that might be a difficult thing to change at this point in time. I'm not sure. That'd be a discussion with educational services.
So can we get a communication out to the?
Oh, yes, that
community
will all go
about-
tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not sure about changing plans Friday for what is, because I'm not sure of the process that we use to get to that point, and that could be work with the CVEA and establishing those dates. And so now to change those dates, I'm not sure about that happening. Sounds like a discussion item tomorrow.
Mr. Panzer.
Okay, Mr. Roberts, so I think Jill had a very good point. So the last 2 weeks, maybe we received 200 emails, administration and the school board. Most of them were all not to go back to school. And yes, I'm very nervous about the spike in the health. But we have to remember there's 15,000 people out there we didn't hear from. So we heard from 200, but we haven't heard from 15,000 people. And originally about 70% of those people voted to go back to school. Originally, they on the survey, I think. I think the survey was like 70%, Mr. Roberts, to go back. So
yes,
maybe it's not a safe time right now at this moment, but we're going to surely hear from another 200 plus, like Jill said, because there's a 15,000 silent majority out there that's not going to be happy. So, I mean, personally, I don't want to send anybody back to school if it's not safe. But on the other hand, I think we need to be a little more definite on a plan to go back to school, not just leave it out there in the air, is all I'm saying. Okay, I said enough.
And we'll do that by indicating those dates. I would like to address a comment that Ms. Zeck made about this process. You make a very important point. This is extremely frustrating for all of us. We have been put in a position to make decisions for which we really try our best to make those decisions the best we can. But there is not a uniform plan in our region, in our state, that says these are the markers. This is when it's safe. Back in June, when we were given the return to school plan from the state, we were told when we were in phase 4, we could put together protocols, and if we put together those protocols, we could then return to school. We put together those protocols. But when we were given that charge to do that, that was at the end of June, beginning of July. We were coming off a month in June in which numbers were very low. And they continually climbed over the summer. So as we put together our plan, in the middle of July, we were still thinking we might go to phase 5. We don't understand this disease. We rely on health experts to tell us. We don't know when numbers will spike, why or how they spike. I mean, we know a lot more now than we did then. So then we get to the middle of August, and as numbers go up, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this doesn't look like it looked when we started. So we made the decision to go remote. The numbers then started going down in September. We made the decision to put people back in. And about that time, it started to climb again. So for us, this is extremely frustrating. And this is what superintendents on Zoom calls kind of stare at each other and go, how do we deal with this? So those are important points you make, because we really want to be really straightforward with our community. And there are just so many factors that interfere. And I know that there will be people in our community who said, wait, what happened? 2 weeks ago, you approved it. But probably the spike we saw since that time is the greatest spike in all of this whole COVID history. The numbers right now on daily cases in Macomb County are higher than they ever were in March and April. And you saw a couple of spikes a few weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago, and then it kind of drifted off and was a little low. And you think, okay, maybe these 7-day rolling averages will remain reasonable. And unfortunately, that's not happening. So that is our struggle, because if there's anything we want to be, is straightforward with our community and really let them know what's going on. But we really don't know. So it is a problem for us administratively that 2 weeks ago we approved to go back, and now we're saying we're not. But when I look at the numbers, I can justify that position. I listen to one of the doctors on TV all the time. He was on with Face the Nation yesterday, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, who you might have seen on CBS, and he's a former FDA director. And he really was saying that he sees that January might be a window of opportunity, because he talked about the importance of getting schools back in as really an important national strategy. And he talked about January as being that month. So I'll tell you, I am hoping for that. I'm hoping what we're seeing right now is a spike that is short-lived, and we can work towards getting our kids in school. And as I said early in this, when I talked before the meeting, I have purposely gone to schools in the morning to talk to kids as they enter school and talk to their parents, and to be able to ask them what this means to them to be going back to school. And every single student, a parent has told me the same thing. They are so happy to be back because of what it does for their kids. It gives their kids a routine, a purpose every single day, to get up and move and go somewhere and be with others. And that's what we're all struggling and trying to get back to. We just have some difficulties to deal with along the way, such as COVID, which keeps popping its head up. That's our priority. A very high priority for us is to be straightforward with the community. We'll explain to them tomorrow of how this happened. I don't think it's something that's difficult to see when you look around at news reports about our state and our county. And unfortunately, this is the spot we find ourselves in. I hope that over time that things can begin to kind of level off and we can make plans that we can count on in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We can still have those plans, that things haven't changed so much that it's not a good thing to do. So that is our goal. And I'm always very aware of how many emails I get and how many students are in our school district. Because I do know that there are going to be some people out there who said, I planned, I was ready.
Yeah.
And that is the worst position we want for our community. So thank you very much for listening to that. I expressed a little frustration with what we deal with administratively.
Ms. Aquino?
I know we have limitations in terms of scheduling. I know it's very challenging, especially at the secondary level, to schedule kids and make sure they get the classes they want and there's enough hours. And I don't know how to do it, but I know it's very challenging. Is there any type of modifications, let's just say for second semester, that we could make to allow for a different type of schedule that maybe shortens the day and you don't deal with lunch, which is like one of the scarier parts of this, in my opinion anyway, or blocks. I know that's not that easily done, trust me, but is it anything that even would be in the realm of possibility? And allowing more people to be in a virtual delivery method long-term. That is actually our teachers, you know what I mean?
Right.
Teaching them.
In this process, and I was not on the operations committee, many different strategies have been discussed and into great detail on what works, what doesn't work, why it would work, why it won't. We certainly can revisit those things administratively and let you know some of the different models that are out there and maybe what are some of the hurdles that we would need to overcome to implement them. But you make a good point. Just like this, everything's a moving target.
Yeah.
Our strategies we use to get our kids back into school can remain a moving target also. So we will do that.
I'm not trying to make things more challenging.
Well,
the one thing I try to always find a positive in situations. So the one positive I've seen in this situation is that we have established a very robust and structured remote learning method that I think may service kids forever, and forever actually, because I think there are kids that prefer online and it gives us, the school district, an opportunity. So I think that was something that we didn't have before that we've gained from that. And one of the reasons I voted how I did in August was because I wanted that to be well established after the spring. So if there's anything we can look at that changes anything up or has kids in school less time so they don't have lunch, I don't claim to have any answers to that. I'm just, we can just like revisit some of the stuff that has been talked about. And I know not now we can't do that, but maybe sometimes at the semester break there can be changes. So anyway, I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just have some things I want to say tonight.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
No, not at all.
There are some positives that will come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned them. Our teachers' tech skills will be better than ever.
Yeah.
And you think of how that can impact education long-term, especially combined with the commitment to be one-to-one. I mean, you want to think at the end of this, you want to come out better. I realize right now, this is a tough moment. But at the end, how are we different? Are we going to be better? And I think we will. Sarah Monyer-White talks about this all the time, about the tech skills our teachers have developed, the skills our students have developed.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it really impacts how we do business. I mean, that's the idea of all this. I mean, when you have something that is this disruptive to what we do, you, at the end, want to be better in some way. And the world will demand it.
Yep.
The world's going to be different.
I agree.
So, thank you.
Well, can I make another comment?
Sure.
Mr. President? And what was that comment? Okay, wait a minute. The one thing that I've seen happen through this is that people have risen to a level of the challenges people have really risen to the challenge in an attempt to make it the best possible situation for students. And the 200 emails, like when I voted last time, when I was very unsure. And I know people detected that, and that's okay. I've gotten a lot of emails, and that's okay. I'm glad. I'm happy to hear from the community. But as you said, Ron, it's a kind of a moving target. I didn't start getting a lot of emails until just recently. It didn't happen immediately, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of more immediate feedback this time. But I do think that even the people that wanted to go back face-to-face, even that 70%, there's a lot of requests to go to CBVA now that did not occur at the beginning of this process. So I think we're doing the best we can. That's what I think. So anyway, I'm done. Thank you.
Mr. Soba. Yeah.
So at semester break, do families have a choice to switch their option and enter into the virtual academy if they don't want to go back?
Well, I think the original.
You want to know if that semester break they can get into the CVVA.
Right, and the original plan had people leaving the CVVA at that point. I don't believe the plan was designed to have kids going the opposite way, but we have made accommodations to do that. I mean, we've tried to be as flexible as we can with everything. And we worked very hard to have people make a decision that would be good for their family at that time in August when they were making these decisions. But our families were put into a place where they were making decisions that, just like us trying to plan for what our educational model is going to look like, they're trying to figure out their family. And they're learning more about the virus. So all those things, yes, we have always tried to honor requests and move people. And it is very difficult. We're, in some cases, can't do that. But
now that they know more as well, like as we do, they may make different options. With being the start of a new semester, that might be I don't know if it's easier for you guys to be able to help them switch, or it still creates as many problems or more problems.
it's a challenge, but that's what we try to do. I say, if we have to do this again, we'll have a playbook and be much better at it, but I don't want to do this again. So once is enough. So, yes, thank you.
Further comments by the board? I just want to make a quick comment here before we vote about Mr. Roberts and his dedication to this community and this each school district. Mr. Roberts and his cabinet has worked hard to want to get these kids back in the classroom from day one. From day one, the board is one that changed their minds back in August to start remote, despite Mr. Roberts really wanting to get those kids back in school then. He's really devoted to try to get these kids in the classroom because he knows that's what's important to learning in this district. Our staff and our administration has done a great job, the best they can, trying to accommodate right now the kind of learning environment we have, whether it be remote, hybrid, whatnot. Mr. Roberts was, we were moving forward up till about 4 o'clock today with going into a hybrid. But to Mr. Roberts' credit, he saw the dangers involved, and I don't know what's the word we're using nowadays, pivoting. He pivoted because he saw what was going on in the numbers, and he was just not, and I don't want to swear, but he wasn't, I use the term, hell-bent on getting these kids into classes no matter what the circumstances are. That was never his intention, and I give him a lot of credit today. It was a huge decision to change this, to at least recommend a change to this district of going out of hybrid to remote. So he has always had our children, our students, our families, our communities' safety in mind as he's went through these challenging times. So I want to make that comment. I don't know if anybody else from the board would like to speak.
I'd like to make a closing comment, Mr. Roberts. In the summer, we were going back to school, and we educated our community on their choices, virtual or hybrid. And then all of a sudden, we're not in school.
Right.
And now we didn't have school. And last meeting, we voted to go back to school. And now here, this meeting, we're voting not to go back to school. I'm concerned about that message to our community and the confidence of our board. In, out, and I appreciate your concern for the health and safety of our children. The whole board is concerned about that. I'm going to support your recommendation because of the health and safety for our children, but I just want to comment to the board. We're on, we're off. We're on, we're off. It's just not a good message, and I think we need to all understand there's a lot of people out there that are going to be really, really disappointed. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything further from the board? Okay. For this vote here, we're going to do a roll call vote. Just so we know there's some board members that we're not in a total agreement here. So, Ms. Cardamone, if be so kind to have a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Pyden? Yes. For myself, yes. Ms. Aquino?
Yes.
Mr. Bednar?
Yes.
Ms. Dominguez? No. Mr. Patzer? Yes. And Mr. Silva?
No.
Okay. So we had a 5-2 vote to support the administration's recommendation of delaying the hybrid instruction. So there will be notification coming out to the district by the administration and staffs tomorrow explaining this and explaining a few things based on numbers that we got. But secondary education will remain in remote until a further date to be determined. As said, Mr. Roberts can address that later on as administration reports. Okay, motion passes. Moving on to H, union communications. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you, Ms. Cardamone. We're going to go back to G4 then. Now we've had our decision. And
yeah.
Okay, can we have a motion to remove G4 from tabling. Moved by Mr. Soba, supported by Ms. Pyden. We're going to untable, reconfirm the extended COVID-19 learning plan to vote. So all those members in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. This motion originally was made by Mr. Aquino and seconded by Mrs. Cardamone. Was to reconfirm the extended COVID-19 learning plan. That Chippewa Valley Schools Board of Education reconfirmed the extended COVID-19 learning plan for 2020-2021 school year. And the rationale is a requirement of Public Act 149. It must be done on a monthly basis. Mr. Roberts, you're going to reflect the new vote tonight. This report will reflect that when it's submitted?
Yes. Well, I think it's under additional comments where it says that we made the move last time on October 19th. We'll put a line in there that will say something to the effect that on November the, what are we on, November the 2nd? My gosh. On November 2nd, the board approved remaining in a remote learning model for secondary schools with a target date for return to the classroom of whatever the start of the second semester is. And I, off the top of my head, I don't know if it's January 18th. Does someone know that? The start of the second semester. Well, the semester though, which is the middle of January. I don't know what the calendar, the way it plays out this year. I think it's the 8th. I would guess it's the 18th, but 18th?
So that'll be reflected in the
25th? That's the start of the second semester. Then that's what we'll aim for, because we need to do it a break anyways, the way grades are done and all that, I would imagine. Is that correct? I don't want to misspeak here. Is that the most logical time to do it at the semester? Paul? Or, I know, but I want to put a target date in here, but we'll continue to look at it all along. Okay, so that will be the target date, the 25th. But that is something we'll look at as we go along. And as Ms. Aquino said, if some miracle happens, we'll get those buses rolling sooner.
Okay. Comments or other questions by the board before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on to H, union communication. I don't know, Ms. Monier-White, if we have any union leadership that'd like to address the board this evening.
We do have Ms. Levine on the line.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I'd like to thank the board for keeping the secondary students and staff safe by staying remote. Thank you, Mr. Soba, for asking about the elementary. I wonder why the board and the administration feels that elementary students and staff don't deserve the same respect and concern for their safety. I urge you to reconsider the decision to keep elementary in hybrid. I really don't know how to tell my elementary teachers that their safety is less important to you than the secondary teacher's safety. The earliest, if you keep the current schedule, that you can reconsider this vote is in 2 weeks. And yet Mr. Roberts says that the numbers are higher, yet we will continue to keep our elementary teachers and our students in class. I urge you to reconsider the decision for elementary to keep both the staff and students safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Levine, for your comments. Okay. Any other union representatives, Ms. Monier-White, that would like to address the board?
Not this evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to I, administration reports, Mr. Roberts.
Okay, just a couple things. I told you earlier that we would have discussions administratively this week. I'll give you information. I quite often send out a Friday memo. I'll send that to you this Friday with information about our discussions related to elementary. I also like to note in the minutes of this meeting under administrative reports, but it's also in our plan, So we'll have it in two places, that our target date for a return is January 25th semester for secondary. But I won't go on. And I just want to make one other comment. We've heard a lot of people here, or quite a few people this evening, speak to the skill of their teachers this year. Those were people who were in support of remaining in remote. And we've come a real long way. When you think about where our skill set was back in March and April to how we're delivering education now, even in a remote model. And I know that with our teachers' skill and dedication, that will continue to improve because we're really essentially learning how to teach in an online world. And so that takes a while. It's no different than a new teacher walking into a classroom and after a few years says, oh my gosh, I can't believe how I used to teach. I'm so much better, because you learn things along the way, and our teachers will continue to do that. But I really want to mention the group of people who I think sometimes get lost in this. And I want to recognize our building administrative teams, because they are on the front line of dealing with a very emotional situation. Parents who are concerned about their their children, teachers who are concerned about not only their students, but their own health and safety. They are in the front line for balancing all these things. We just had them 2 weeks get their rooms ready, deal with people who were probably a little concerned. It takes a whole lot of skill. And so I really want to recognize our administrators in the buildings for their work this year. It has not been easy. It's probably been one of their more challenging years, and I just think they need to be recognized. So I just want a little thank you to our building administrators. And that's the end of administrative reports, and we have no curriculum updates this evening.
Moving on to K11 by the board. Mr. Silva.
Trying to get so my mic works.
Oh, I
I'll try
think
to
it
talk
works.
loud. I just wanted to say, for as difficult as this decision is for us as a board to make, and all these decisions have been, I think we all know that it's even harder for you guys because you deal with it so much more than we do. I mean, it's your whole life. And all the information, all the hard work, and all the dedication that you guys show in providing us the information to try to help us make these decisions and whatnot. We really do appreciate it. And thank you for everything you guys do and all your hard work and dedication.
Thank you.
Ms. Quino.
I just wanted to say, yeah, I completely agree with George about the administration and how difficult this has been and how it's been like a yo-yo for all of you and for us. But I'd also like to acknowledge that I know how hard this is for families too, and for parents who are working, who are trying to, who have kids that are emotionally not struggling, who have kids that have challenges paying attention. That was one of the reasons I voted to go back, and I still feel, I'm still concerned about that. So I really would hope that parents, as you're struggling, if you think your child needs help, if your child needs emotional support, to please contact your building administrators or someone in central office, because we do want those students to be helped and serviced in whatever way we can possibly provide that. So I'm sorry, families. I know many of you are probably disappointed, and as am I, but I'm less disappointed than I would be if I sent kids back to school and there were a lot of illness and death in families. And it's not even the death rate so much as the long-term effects, and there's so many things about the virus they just don't know at this point and how it can affect people long-term. So anyway, I just want to let you know that I do think about the families, and I am concerned and appreciate all the difficulties that you're going to, and I'm sure you're very frustrated with us, and I understand that, but I think we're doing the best we think we can do under the circumstances. Thank you.
Other board members for of and by the board? Let's have one thing. Yeah, Mr. Minczak.
Tomorrow on election day, is staff in the building?
No, they're not.
No.
I'm sorry.
Teaching staff is not in the building.
Do we have any staff in the building?
Yes, we have office staff.
Okay. So with the, trying to think how to say this. Is our district policy about open carry still in effect?
No.
No. Okay.
I know it is scary, isn't it?
Jill, all set? Okay. Yeah, I just want to real quickly just give a hats off to our technical team here today for getting this put together for us and working on the fly and overcoming that challenge early on, which you did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I thought it was great to see everybody back here today in person. It's been crazy years, we all know. So thanks everybody for making the effort to come out here, and whether you were for or against it, to put it aside for the better of this school district today, come here. So thank you very much. One other thing, Mr. Roberts had mentioned to me that he was wanting to have his evaluation prior to the end of the year, because he wants this board, the 7 of us, to do the evaluation as opposed to 2 new board members where we'll be coming in January. I'm just looking at some dates. I'm not going to be available next Monday. After that, we're getting to the 16th of November. I don't know if it's something we could do then, or if we want to look at 23rd, which is the week of Thanksgiving, which I don't know if people are going to be out of town or what's going on. Maybe not this year. So I'll throw some dates out there. Maybe I'll throw an email out, but I just want to throw it out there on your radar. If we could sit down, we should be able to get it done in one sitting, one evening, as far as evaluations we have in the past. So I'll throw some dates out there to us in an email later this week or as we go on here to get that done. But I just want to put it to your attention. So.
Should I prevail in the election tomorrow, I would take, my term would start November 20th.
Oh.
So I would need to resign. at that
Yeah.
point.
Okay. Well, let's hope that happens for you.
December 31st. But
So how does that?
If I succeed tomorrow, then I would need to, yeah.
So, okay. Well, Laura, with that, we will all wish you the best of luck tomorrow and hope that that works out really well for you. We would hate to lose you, but I'm sure the township could use a good person like yourself. So best of luck tomorrow. And there's nothing else from the board. Can I have a movement to adjourn? Moved by Mr. Sobal, supported by Ms. Pyden. All those in favor signify by saying aye. It's so different to say that now.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And meeting is adjourned at 9:30.
Are you working tonight?
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
My God. Actually means that it's shorter meeting than usual.